What's up guys, it's Paul here from the 9 to 5 Investors Club channel. In this video, I want to talk to you about the insane quick squeeze and drop that we saw in all the cannabis stocks like Tilray, Afria, Sundial, etc., as well as how I'm planning to play it, okay? So if you look at a stock like Tilray, they have been trading sideways for the longest time now, and as soon as the Wall Street Bets guys started pushing it, they shot up really quickly all the way from $28 to 77 and shot back down all within a 1 week period, similar to the kind of crazy run we saw with GameStop, okay? Now, one of the reasons also had to do with Tilray having a pretty high short interest. After they came back down, we are seeing it at 22.48% here on Tilray, but previously they were around 45%, which is another reason why we saw this much of a short squeeze on it, okay? Now, because they shot back down quickly right to where it actually squeezed from, this might potentially be a fairly good support. I want to see where they settle down here. They're currently trading at $29. I want to see if they can find some support around $28.50. If they drop down further, we may see $26 or even $23. So I have various support lines here that you can see where it previously was a resistance and broke out. Before that, this was a resistance and they broke out of here. So I'm looking at various support levels here to see where they'll settle down before I actually get into it. But I think this pump, especially because there's a lot of optimism related to a legalization across the US, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, of course, but because there's optimism there and we have people actually pumping these stocks these days and there's a high short interest, I think we may see another short squeeze again, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, okay? So the way I'm actually considering playing it for Tilray is actually to get leap calls potentially for 2023, and by then if there's any other piece of good news that comes out related to legalization or any of that, or if the short interest gets too high and we see another little squeeze, we can have some exposure to it, okay? Now my biggest issue with playing these short squeezes is that timing is going to be very important, which is exactly why I don't want to try to time that it might happen in the next 2 weeks or the next 1-2 months or any of that. But if you could just get leap calls for 2023, I think that might play out pretty well, okay? Now, Tilray is still a little pricey in my opinion, so what I actually am planning to consider is also leap calls on Afria, because even Afria and Tilray recently considered a merger deal, and they're expecting it to happen sometime in the first quarter of this year, okay? Now, Afria as well, similar to Tilray, they came back all the way down to the previous resistance where they broke out of, and they should be able to find some pretty decent support here. If they start crashing, we may see 1636, and if not that, all the way down to 1337 here. So that's what I'm watching out for. But if you actually look at the leap calls here for Afria, even at the money calls for January 2023 are under $1,000, which I don't think is too crazy considering how much they can move on a given squeeze like this, okay? So just recently, if you look at it, in a really short time, we saw it go from around $18 or so all the way to $28 in just a week or just a couple of days, really. And so when you give yourself so much time, like 2 years, any little squeeze like that is going to make your call spike, and that's really all you're looking for, okay? So over the next 2 years, whatever good news can come across in terms of cannabis legalization, whether it's all 50 states or only a few states, I think if you can get leap calls and get some exposure that way, I think it's going to play out pretty well instead of trying to speculate what can happen in the next few weeks or next few months, okay? Now, Sundial Growers, which was a penny stock, also shot up like crazy here, all the way from actually under $1, pretty much really a penny stock, all the way to nearly $5 at all-time highs, and they started coming back down. I think there's still more room for Sundial to fall. I'd really like to see them under $2, maybe around $1.65, $1.67 here, or if not, even down to $1.22. So once they come down to that, I think similar strategy as Afria, I think some leap calls on Sundial can also be pretty beneficial. So if we actually go through the leap calls here for January 2023, even at the money or even in the money calls are extremely cheap. So if you buy a bunch of leap calls for a $1 strike, for example, you could buy say 7 or 8 of them for $1,000, and by 2023 you can either sell them for a profit, or if you want to hold it for the long term, you could even decide to exercise it, and now you can have 1,000 shares at $1, okay? So, and anytime we have that little pop like we saw recently, it's a great opportunity to either sell calls or take profits or whatever you want to do with it. I think leap calls are a better way to play cannabis and a potential squeeze than just trying to bet or predict what's going to happen with them. Okay. Now in the short term, though, well, not exactly short term, but in terms of actually holding shares, which I think are not too volatile, or what I am actually more convinced of holding for the long term, is a company called Innovative Industrial Properties, which is actually a REIT, a real estate investment trust, which buys pot growing properties basically. So as cannabis can get legalized more and more, all these companies that are actually growing it, all the producers and growers, they will need facilities to actually grow it, and that's exactly where Innovative Industrial Properties comes into the picture. Okay, so this is one way to pretty much play the entire industry without speculating on anything, without wondering which one of all these cannabis companies will come out on the top. This is an indirect way that you can play it, and I've been holding shares for about a year and a half now. They've been doing really well, 149%. Without needing to speculate about it, and they pay a solid dividend that they've actually been growing almost every quarter, every 2 quarters over the last couple of years. Okay, so definitely add IIPR to your watch list. Another one that I really like is Planet 13 Holdings. It's a cannabis superstore based in Las Vegas. Currently, they only have one store, but they have been doing incredibly well. As you can see, over the last 1 year, they're up 411%. And especially during the March crash, I loaded up on it at an average cost of $1.21. So it's been performing really well. But if it can get legalized across many states over time, and they expand from just one store to 2, 3, 5, 10 stores across the country over the next 4, 5, 10 years, I think this can easily be a 5 to 10x stock in my opinion. Okay, so definitely add Planet 13 to your watch list as well. It's not strictly a cannabis play, because it's also like a multiplex entertainment center where people go just for having fun, not necessarily just for cannabis. So they're not directly impacted by any kind of government or legalization news, just like exclusive cannabis producers or growers or distributors, unlike Planet 13. Okay, so definitely add Planet 13 to your watch list as well. If you were to buy shares that I'd be comfortable holding for the long term, I think IIPR and PLNHF or Planet 13 are the 2 must-own stocks, especially for the long term. And everything else, in my opinion, is a little more speculative and more of a quick squeeze and drop and take profits along the way. Okay, so that's all I wanted to share with you guys here today. Let me know your thoughts below. What do you think is going to come out on the top, or what are you watching? Do you agree with IIPR and Planet 13 as potential long-term holds? If not, what other companies are you looking at, and how are you planning to play? So feel free to share your thoughts below. And if you enjoyed it, please do smash that like button, leave a comment below. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Okay, thanks again for watching, and until next time.